How did Sam Bankman-Fried, once the golden boy of crypto, go from billionaire to facing prison in just months? He wasn't just a financial genius, he was a political power player, donating millions to the Democratic Party while building FTX into global cryptocurrency empire. Trusted by millions and endorsed by celebrities, he seemed untouchable. But behind the scenes, a shocking truth was brewing. Billions vanished, and the man who promised to revolutionize finance is now at the center of one of the biggest financial scandals in history. What really happened inside FTX? And how did it unravel so quickly? Let's uncover the rise and spectacular fall of Sam Bankman-Fried. It all began with a quiet, unassuming kid from Stanford, California. Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF, as he had come to be known, wasn't your average student. At MIT, he wasn't just another math whiz. He was different, relentlessly focused, razor-sharp, and possessed by a vision that most couldn't comprehend. His goal? To make as much money as possible, not for luxury, but to fuel his bold idea of effective altruism, earning big so he could give even bigger. But there was more to this story than philanthropy. In 2017, Sam founded Alameda Research, a trading firm that took advantage of price differences in cryptocurrency markets. It wasn't long before this young, quiet man became a force in the fast-paced, wild world of crypto. But it wasn't enough. Sam had a grander plan. In 2019, he launched FTX, a platform that promised to change the way people traded cryptocurrency. But Sam wasn't just building another exchange, he was building an empire. FTX was sleek, intuitive, and promised low fees, everything the crypto world needed but hasn't seen before. In just 2 years, it grew into a juggernaut, handling billions of dollars in daily trading volume. And at the helm of it all was Sam, with his signature messy hair, geeky appearance, and frumpy t-shirts, becoming the face of the crypto revolution. He was young, charismatic, and he played the role of the idealistic genius perfectly. In an industry filled with skepticism and suspicion, Sam was a breath of fresh air. He wasn't in for the money, he said. He wanted to make the world a better place. His image became so squeaky clean that even governments and celebrities began to trust him with their investments. But underneath that boyish charm and talk of altruism, there was something brewing. The cracks were there, hidden beneath FTX's rapid success. Yet, no one could have predicted how far the cracks would spread and how quickly everything would come crashing down. Sam had gone from a nobody to one of the wealthiest men in the world in just a few years, and at his peak, he seemed unstoppable. But little did the world know, his empire was built on a foundation that was about to crumble in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. The rise of Sam Bankman-Fried was as meteoric as any success story you've ever heard. But was it too good to be true? At first glance, everything looked perfect. FTX was thriving, and Sam was hailed as a financial genius, praised not just by crypto enthusiasts, but by billionaires and regulators alike. But behind the scenes, whispers were growing. If you listened closely enough, you'd hear it. Something wasn't right. Beneath the surface of FTX's glossy success, there were cracks, hidden but widening. The first sign? Alameda Research. Sam's original trading firm, which should have been separate from FTX, was quietly tangled with his new empire in ways that few knew. While FTX portrayed itself as an independent, fair platform, Alameda was secretly playing a different game, using insider knowledge, access, and FTX's resources to make risky bets. The lines between the two companies were blurred, and as FTX rose to power, so did the questions. But whenever anyone dared to ask about it, the answers were vague: deflections, half-truths, and silence. And then there was the money. An endless flow of cash from investors and venture capitalists pouring into FTX. Sam was on top of the world, but behind the scenes, insiders started noticing something odd. The books didn't add up. Billions of dollars were moving, but where? And how? Every time FTX was pressed for details, there were more questions than answers. No one could pinpoint it exactly, but the feeling was undeniable. FTX was running on borrowed time. Sam himself was becoming harder to read. Once open and eager to talk about his philosophy of earning to give, he was now dodging inquiries about the internal workings of FTX. Why was he so defensive? Some started to suspect that FTX was more than just a platform. It was a house of cards, one shaky push away from collapse. And yet, the public remained oblivious. Sam's altruistic image, his millions in political donations, and his philanthropic pledges kept the spotlight shining bright. No one wanted to believe that the golden boy of crypto was hiding something. But behind closed doors, The pressure was building, and those in the know were getting nervous. SBF wasn't just a business mogul, he became one of the biggest donors to the Democratic Party, spreading his influence across Washington, D.C. His donations totaled around $40 million during the 2022 midterm elections, making him the second largest individual donor to Democrats. He poured millions into the campaigns of prominent political figures such as President Joe Biden, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. His money didn't just go to individual campaigns, he also contributed to super PACs like Senate Majority PAC, which aimed to keep Democrats in control of Congress. At the same time, Sam's colleague and co-CEO Ryan Salami was funneling donations to Republicans. Salami contributed millions to Republican leaders such as Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senator John Boozman, particularly targeting lawmakers who had influence over financial and cryptocurrency regulations. With these donations, SBF was building a shield of political connections that could protect his empire from scrutiny. But while his political ties grew, so did the questions about where the money was really coming from. Behind the scenes, insiders were growing uneasy. Was this money used to buy influence actually customer funds being misused to fuel SBF's grand ambitions? As these donations flowed into political campaigns, the walls around Sam began to close in. The first cracks in FTX's foundation started to show when Binance, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, took a closer look. Binance's CEO Changpeng Zhao, CZ, had once supported FTX, even invested in it. But as rumors of FTX's shaky foundation grew, CZ made a startling decision. He wanted out. He would sell Binance's entire stake in FTX. That move set off a chain reaction that Sam never saw coming. In an instant, FTX's illusion of stability shattered. The billions in political donations and investments couldn't shield FTX from the storm that was about to come. Behind the scenes, FTX was a tickling time bomb, and it was about to explode. What exactly did CZ uncover that led him to pull the plug? And how did a single decision from a rival CEO lead to the unraveling of SBF's entire empire? The collapse had already begun, and there was no stopping it now. The fall was about to be as dramatic as the rise. Welcome to the moment that all came crushing down. It happened faster than anyone could have imagined. One moment FTX was riding high, praised as the future of cryptocurrency. The next, it was spiraling out of control, unable to stop the tidal wave of doubt and fear sweeping through the market. The first domino had fallen, and it was Binance that tipped it over. When CZ, the CEO of Binance, announced his intention to liquidate all of Binance's holdings in FTX, panic gripped the crypto world. Investors, once confident in FTX's stability, began to fear the worst. Why was Binance pulling out? What did CZ know that no one else did? The very next day, FTX users rushed to withdraw their funds, only to discover that the company wasn't as liquid as it claimed. Billions evaporated in a matter of hours. A digital run on the bank, like something out of a nightmare, was unfolding in real time. Users were met with frozen withdrawals, error messages, and a chilling realization. Rumors spread like wildfire. Was FTX bankrupt? Had the company been lying all along? The truth? FTX was hiding a black hole in its balance sheet. An $8 billion gap that couldn't be explained away. And how did it get this bad? The connection between FTX and Alameda Research, Sam's trading firm, was the key. Alameda had been bleeding money for months, and in a desperate attempt to cover the losses, FTX had secretly funneled $8 billion of customer funds to prop it up. It was a classic case of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and now the world knew. But the fallout wasn't just financial, it was personal. Some of the world's biggest stars had thrown their weight behind FTX. NFL legend Tom Brady and his then wife, supermodel Gisele Bündchen, weren't just investors, they were the face of FTX's flashy marketing campaigns. Brady, one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet, promoted the company in ads that painted FTX as the future of finance. The couple's financial stake in the company was sizable, and now, gone. And they weren't alone. NBA superstar Stephen Curry, known for his sharpshooting on the court, was now caught in a scandal off the court. And comedian Larry David, who ironically starred in a Super Bowl ad portraying him as a skeptic of new technology, had unwittingly promoted a platform that was collapsing before his eyes. These celebrities had believed in Sam Bankman-Fried just like millions of others. But now, they too were facing the harsh reality of FTX's downfall. As the dust settled, FTX filed for bankruptcy. A company once valued at $32 billion was now worth nothing. And Sam Bankman-Fried? The man once hailed as crypto's savior was in hiding, facing accusations of fraud on a scale that shocked even the most hardened financial experts. Overnight, his empire crumbled into ashes. But the collapse wasn't just a financial disaster. It was a betrayal. The millions who believed in FTX, who saw Sam as the beacon of hope in the murky world of cryptocurrency, were left stunned and broken. Celebrities who had endorsed FTX, from star athletes to Hollywood icons, now scrambled to distance themselves. Investors lost everything. The fallout was immense. As the reality of the FTX scandal settled in, the question on everyone's mind was simple. How did SBF pull this off for so long? And how did no one see it coming? But this wasn't the end of the story, far from it. The collapse was just the beginning. Now came the reckoning, the legal battles, the investigations, and a potential prison sentence that hung over Sam's head like a guillotine. As the world demanded answers, one question burned brighter than any other. Would Sam Bankman-Fried pay for what he had done? Or would he somehow escape the consequences of his deceit? The fight for justice was just beginning. The legal storm hit fast and hard. The US government launched an investigation that reached the highest levels of scrutiny. Sam was arrested in the Bahamas, dragged into a spotlight he could no longer control. He had gone from billionaire philanthropist to the face of one of the biggest financial frauds in history in what felt like a heartbeat. The media frenzy exploded. Headlines plastered with his name, his disheveled appearance in courtrooms, the stunned expressions of those who once trusted him. It was a spectacle no one could look away from. As the evidence piled up, it became clear this wasn't just a business failure. This was a deliberate deception. Sam had been funneling billions of dollars from FTX customers into risky bets made by Alameda Research. When the bets went bad, he used more customer money to cover his tracks. Sam's empire wasn't built on innovation. It was built on fraud. It was reminiscent of a Ponzi scheme pulled by Bernie Madoff years earlier. But Sam had a plan, or at least he thought he did. His legal team argued he was simply a young entrepreneur who made reckless mistakes, not a criminal mastermind. They painted him as naive, overwhelmed by the fast rise of his company, and in over his head. But the scale of the damage was too great, and the public was furious. Investors, celebrities, and politicians, everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted someone to pay. And then there was the political intrigue. SBF hadn't just been a key player in crypto, he had been one of the largest donors to the Democratic Party, pouring millions into political campaigns. His influence reached to the highest levels of government, and now those same politicians scrambled to distance themselves. What role had Sam's political ties played in the lack of regulatory oversight? Had his donations shielded him from scrutiny? The questions added another layer of mystery to an already complex scandal. As the trial dragged on, the walls were closing in. More revelations, more betrayals, and more financial destruction came to light. SBF wasn't just facing lawsuits, he was staring down decades behind bars. The man who once boasted of saving the world now fought to save himself. But the story unfolds even further. The fallout wasn't limited to Sam. The collapse of FTX sent shockwaves through the entire cryptocurrency industry. Governments around the world began cracking down on unregulated exchanges, threatening the very existence of the crypto world Sam had once dominated. Celebrities like Tom Brady, Stephen Curry, once the smiling faces of FTX, now found themselves named in lawsuits, accused of misleading the public through their endorsements. Could they be held responsible for the collapse? The consequences of Sam Bankman-Fried's actions were far-reaching, and the story wasn't over yet. With this trial still unfolding and billions of dollars unaccounted for, one final question remained. Could cryptocurrency recover from the scandal that nearly destroyed it? Or had SBF's downfall taken the entire industry down with him? The future of crypto hangs in the balance, and the world is watching. Trust, once fragile but intact, was shattered overnight. Investors, both big and small, were left questioning the very thing they had believed would revolutionize the financial system. Crypto had promised a new era of decentralization, freedom from traditional banks, and endless opportunity. But now, in the wake of FTX's spectacular implosion, everything seemed uncertain. New taxes and oversight threatened to choke the very freedom that had made cryptocurrency so appealing in the first place. And then there were the other players in the industry, other crypto exchanges, giants like Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken, scrambling to distance themselves from the chaos. They issued public statements pledging transparency and security, desperate to reassure users that they were nothing like FTX. But for millions of disillusioned investors, the damage was done. Could crypto ever recover from the disaster SBF left behind? The industry was in flux. Some believed this was the death knell of cryptocurrency as we knew it. Others saw it as a necessary purge, a way to weed out the bad actors and bring legitimacy to an industry built on innovation. In the aftermath, new companies began emerging, promising to learn from FTX's mistakes. Venture capitalists were still eager to invest, cautiously optimistic that the future of finance was still digital, but this time smarter and safer. But what about Sam's legacy? Could a man who had been lauded as a visionary and a philanthropist be remembered as anything other than a fraud? Some still clung to the idea that Sam had started with good intentions, but had been swallowed by greed and ambition. Others saw him as a cold-hearted manipulator who had betrayed the trust of millions. His trial may have offered answers about his guilt, but his impact on the industry remained a haunting shadow. What would be the lasting impact of Sam Bankman-Fried's rise and fall? Would the crypto world rebuild, stronger and more regulated than before? Or would the damage be too deep, too devastating to recover from? And as the industry struggled to find its footing, one final question loomed. Was this the end of the dream, or was it just the beginning of a new chapter for cryptocurrency? The story of Sam Bankman-Fried was far from over. But as the smoke cleared, the world would soon discover what the future of finance and the future of trust would look like in the aftermath of one of the most shocking collapses in financial history. The rise and fall of Sam Bankman-Fried is a story that will be told for years. A moral warning of how unchecked ambition and deception can bring even the most promising of empires to their knees. FTX was supposed to be the future, an unstoppable force in the world of cryptocurrency. Instead, it became a symbol of greed, fraud, and betrayal. On March 28, 2024, in a stunning conclusion to one of the largest financial frauds in modern history, Samuel Bankman-Fried, the disgraced founder of cryptocurrency giant FTX, was sentenced to 25 years in prison and hit with a staggering $11 billion forfeiture. Once a celebrated crypto prodigy, SBF now faces the consequences of his web of deceit, where he funneled billions of customer funds for personal luxury, political influence, and risky ventures. His elaborate lies, designed to mask the collapse of his empire, wiped out life savings and shattered trust, but justice was swift and unforgiving, sending a clear message to those who believe they can outmaneuver the law. If you like this story, hit that like button and subscribe. Stay tuned for more tales about people and companies who are changing the way we live. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time.